This is the Overdue Homework Podcast.
Welcome to the show. I'm joined by Trav. I'm Drew.
And I'm Trav.
This is the Overdue Homework Podcast. As always, we are here to talk about 80s and 90s media. Trav, how are you doing?
I am doing pretty good. Sorry about that.
Except for that part.
I am excited to get into this episode for sure. We've been kind of chatting maybe more than we should because we try to save it for the podcast, but I'm ready to open up these discussions about The Shining.
Yeah, that was like almost a 5-minute lead up until we hit record. That's kind of a long one. I'm really excited to talk about this too. I'm doing great. Obviously, still doing great after that awesome news in the last podcast, but everything's great in my life. I haven't been called an a-hole in a while, so I'm always happy about that.
That is good.
I'm also really excited for this episode. I say that a lot, but The Shining is, it's one of those quintessential movies.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a great movie. It's going to be fun to talk about, like always.
Somehow, after watching it 4 times, I'm already ready to rewatch it come Halloween time.
Oh, exactly. Halloween time, right after we release this.
Yes, a week later.
Well, since The Shining came out in 1980, do you want to venture a guess what the highest grossing movie was in 1980? What number one was?
No way, was it actually The Shining?
No, it wasn't The Shining.
Okay,
it wasn't The Shining. Take a guess. Any guess. It is right here in front of you on the notes. But
Star Wars. Oh, that's crazy. I would have never guessed.
Of course, it was The Empire Strikes Back. What else could it be? That's my favorite Star Wars movie, honestly. So,
yeah, same here.
Empire is my favorite. Enjoy The Empire big time. 9 to 5, number 2. I should say Empire had $203 million, which in 1980, that's a good amount of money.
Yeah.
9 to 5 was number 2. You're a big Dolly Parton fan, right? 9 to 5.
Huge. That is my movie.
Stir Crazy. I don't know what that is, so nope.
Nope.
You get all the way down to number 8, Smokey and the Bandit 2.
Nice.
That's one of those movies that I remember watching on TV quite a bit, seeing Smokey and the Bandit 2 on TV growing up, and that's my experience with that movie. Never saw it unedited. I doubt it was raunchy besides the innuendo or anything. It's probably a PG movie. Maybe a PG-13 if the PG-13 was even out at that time. I don't think it was in 1980, so
probably not.
Just the PG. The Blues Brothers. That's a great movie. Got to love that in 1980.
Never seen it, but actually Tim, one of our listeners, just saw that recently and said he thought it was hilarious.
For the first time he saw it?
For the first time.
That's an experience with a movie like that is like, I'm almost jealous that he got to watch Blues Brothers for the first time.
Yeah.
Because it's a really, really good movie. It's totally unique unto itself, and obviously exploring that SNL lore, it's a favorite of mine. I enjoy the Blues Brothers quite a bit. Popeye, that is also starring Shelley Long. It's not Shelley Long. What is her name?
Shelley Duvall.
Shelley Duvall. Shelley Long is from Cheers.
AKA Shelley Long. I mean.
So she was in Popeye, which is number 11. And then coming in at number 12, The Shining. And then wrapping out the list that we have, lucky number 13, Cheech and Chong's next movie. Like we've said before, not funny.
Yeah. I suppose realistically, Shining being rated R shouldn't be too much higher than number 12.
No, but it is a little bit of a different time considering like the rating scale that after PG, your next step was R. So an R movie probably made more money. I know they're death at the box office now.
Yeah.
There's kind of been a revival with R-rated movies getting, big box office pulls. So
like Deadpool.
Like Deadpool, obviously. So I'm a big fan of rated R movies. When I'm not with my child, I demand adult themes.
Yes.
I don't want to have something sanitized. I demand adult themes. Give me rated R movies.
Right. And I know we're not supposed to mention current things, but oh man, did you see that Hugh Jackman's going to be Wolverine again for Deadpool 3?
I just heard that today. And that's really cool news. I'm really happy about that.
Super stoked. I've been waiting for that forever.
That is super cool news. I was unsure that he would ever reprise that role again,
Yeah, he kind of said the only way he would is if he got to be in some sort of Avengers movie, but I guess Ryan Reynolds talked him into it.
Yeah, maybe he will make an appearance in an Avengers movie because of the multiverse,
Yeah, it's possible.
It is very possible.
All right.
Excuse me while I burp off mic. So do you want to just get on over to that homework review?
Let's do it.
All right. The Shining, May 23rd, 1980, directed by the venerable Stanley Kubrick. It's a favorite of mine, a favorite of yours, favorite of everybody's, should be a favorite of everybody's. This movie was co-written by Kubrick and a woman named Diane Johnson. She was a novelist. It was based on the Stephen King's 1977 novel of the same name. King turned his novel also into a screenplay and script, but Kubrick refused to read it. Can you believe that?
I can't believe
He's
that.
like, no, I'm not gonna read it because he wanted to make his movie, obviously, right? This movie stars Jack Nicholson. Of course it does, right?
Obviously.
Did you know that Stephen King did not like Jack for the role?
I did not know that. That seems crazy after seeing the movie, but
I guess his reasoning was, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest wasn't that far removed from this movie.
yeah, 78.
Yeah, so he was super identifiable with somebody that was labeled as insane a whole movie.
Oh, sure.
So King was worried that people would automatically be like, well, he's crazy from the beginning.
Yeah, of course he's crazy.
Right.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
the movie's supposed to be about his descent into madness, right?
Right.
And you could argue, even after it's supposed to be about his descent into madness, from the moment he walks in, he's insane.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah, that's what I think.
The second that he walks in for that interview, he's insane.
Yep.
But I digress. So just to, kind of expound upon King and his problems with the movie, he has said that Jack Torrance basically has no arc in the movie. Like we said, he just comes in crazy, is crazy the whole time, and just ends the movie crazy dead.
Yeah.
King wanted John Voight as the lead character of Jack Torrance, and Martin Sheen was another option. It didn't matter, though, because King was told that Jack Nicholson has the role. It's his role. It's not negotiable.
Thank you, Stanley.
Yeah, exactly, because this movie is all about Jack, big time. Shelley Duvall, who plays Wendy, she did not get along with Kubrick. And a lot of the stuff that I read basically said that it was a way for Kubrick to try to get the most desperate, performance out of Shelley Duvall by being a jerk to her the whole time. But it was things like really long shooting days and the script changing constantly. She actually became physically ill from the stress and was losing her hair.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes, big time. So you can read a really cool article called How the Shining Changed Shelley Duvall Forever at /film.com, and there's a link in the show notes, just like everything else for any of the information that I provide in this podcast. All the links are in the show notes.
And you've got in here almost made her walk away from acting for good.
It did.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was a serious thing, and there are pictures of the two of them, Kubrick and Duvall, like smiling and like holding arms and stuff, but apparently that was not the case. He was very rough. I'm trying to remember an exact story. When she was outside towards the end of the movie, when she was outside of the overlook and was coming in, she missed her cue because it was loud, all that stuff, and so she missed her cue. And instead of Kubrick coming like through the door and saying, "Hey, you missed your cue, come on," I guess he like burst through the doors and just like was screaming in her face and stuff like that. Like, man, that's pretty intense stuff. But if you're trying to get a really desperate performance out of somebody, I don't think I can like validate his behavior anyway. But Stanley Kubrick was an interesting man, to say the least. But we also got Scatman Carruthers and Danny Lloyd in The Shining. Did you ever see the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 5 with the...
Nope.
Okay, it's a really, really good spoof on The Shining. It's the exact same plot. They're in the Overlook Hotel, all this other stuff, but instead of Homer going crazy because of a writer's block, he goes crazy because there's no beer and no TV. So he literally says, "No beer and no TV, make Homer something, something." And then Marge goes, "Go crazy?" And he goes, "Don't mind if I do." Boy, it's a great Shining parody, but they call it the Shinning because they don't want to get sued.
Oh, sure.
And Willie literally says, because we don't want to get sued.
Nice.
That's a really good Treehouse of Horror. It's like a pretty epic one. It's got the toaster time travel episode, the kids getting eaten by the teachers, so like kind of like the Soylent Green thing. And then at the end, it has the gas that turns everybody inside out, which is very funny. One, singular, and then they all turn inside out. Well, should we get to that movie breakdown?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So that opening sequence, Trav, very lovely aerial shot, correct?
Yeah, it's really good. And we say this all the time, but the music or score in this movie is f***ing awesome.
There's no other way to describe it. It reminds me of a lot of other Kubrick movies, especially like 2001 or A Clockwork Orange.
Yeah.
It's got a really similar sound to it. I don't know. I'm assuming it was just an orchestra. Some of it sounded synthetic with a synthesizer, but I would assume most of it was just an orchestra. But man, he knows how to set a mood.
Yes.
There was a whole other score for this movie that was made and completely ready to go for the movie.
Oh, yeah.
But that got completely scrapped at the end. The artist, I can't remember her name, but she released the original score to it a few years ago, like her own album. So I've never heard it. I didn't go to listen to any of it, but there's an alternate score out there for The Shining if you're interested.
Crazy.
Watching the Torrances drive to the Overlook, it's kind of like watching a death march, right?
Yeah.
Because you know just by the music that something weird is going on.
Oh, yeah.
If you've never seen The Shining, you would know seems odd and uneasy. It's almost like they're being followed, instead of like it being like you're observing. It's almost like you're following them, like some entity is waiting for them to get there. I don't know. Yeah. It's uneasy and unsettling.
Yeah, the music, she mentions the air being thin. Jack seems to be annoyed from both of them immediately.
Yes.
So he's ready for this 5 months of peace.
Yeah.
And doesn't want anything to do with them, seemingly.
Seemingly.
Slug bug memories. I wrote that down. Slug bug memories.
For sure. This movie made it really easy to break down because of its place cards and its like abrupt, like almost chapter-like sections of the movie.
The interview.
Yeah, right. Jack calmly walks into the Overlook and approaches the front desk, states he has an appointment. He's directed to Mr. Ullman's office. That's an impossible window in his office, right?
Yeah.
It's an impossible window. It should be an elevator and like all types of other not industrial, but like building equipment, HVAC equipment and all that stuff. And even the elevators aren't far enough back into that office. So it
doesn't make sense.
And Kubrick, that's, he does that on purpose. It wasn't a mistake. It's not like a continuity mistake on his part. So it's the impossible window. Everything is super mundane at the hotel, right? Seems like a normal type of thing. So everything is just going like normal, it seems like. And then flash over to Wendy and Danny, and Danny is questioning the move to the hotel for the winter. But Wendy does her best motherly thing and tries to convince him, give him the silver lining, say it's going to be great. She even brings Tony into the conversation.
Yeah, even brings Tony in the conversation. A little secondhand smoke never hurt anybody either.
My goodness.
She's just pounding through the cigarettes.
She is pounding through those cigarettes in the whole movie. Not going to lie, as a former smoker, man, it made me want to smoke cigarettes. But that's completely...
As someone who hates smoking cigarettes, it made me glad I don't smoke cigarettes.
I could smell it. Literally, I could smell it. My mom smoked in the house while I was growing up.
Yeah.
And while he was sitting there, I could smell and taste the cereal and cigarette smoke.
100%.
Knew exactly what it smelled and tasted like.
That always puts me in that place because my dad, my grandparents, they all smoked when I was a kid. So I put disgusting how normalized smoking is in that, but really it was very normal at that time. I mean, I grew up in the 90s and it was normal in my household, but it's still disgusting.
Yeah, along with smoking in restaurants. I mean, that wasn't until the 2000s in this part of the country, which is insane to think about.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Tony doesn't want to go.
Right.
Why doesn't Tony want to go? We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet, but we know. We don't know yet.
We know, but we don't know.
Back at the Overlook, we get a little bit of Jack's background. He's a former teacher. He's a writer. He was recommended by the people in Denver.
Yeah. Can you imagine Jack Torrance being your teacher?
No.
No thanks.
What do you think he taught? Do you think he taught high school? Do you think he taught college professor?
Certainly wasn't grade school.
No, it certainly wasn't grade school.
Maybe high school, I would guess. But he's only been off the drinking wagon for 5 months. So hungover, angry Jack Torrance.
Probably drunk Jack Torrance.
Yeah, drunk.
Jack is looking for a change of pace. The caretaker job is explained to Jack. I would assume that he would know the complete ins and outs of this job before he's ready to commit to living.
Yeah.
What did I write down? He's going to commit to a secluded, cut off from the rest of the world, snowed in mountain hotel with like very little information, not really knowing what's going on. So that seemed implausible to me, but they do fill him in, I guess. And basically his responsibilities are to keep the hotel from falling apart. That's it.
And all he truly cares about is the 5 months of isolation.
Of isolation, because he's a madman trying to prevent himself from going off the deep end.
Yeah.
The Grady murders are revealed to Jack in this scene. Jack seems a bit surprised, even though later in the movie, when he's talking to Grady, he mentions, I've seen your picture in the papers.
Yeah.
You know?
So every time I watch that, I'm wondering in my head, does that mean you saw the picture in the papers that have been kept at the hotel? Or was he literally did his research and knew that already? Because, I don't know, to me, he doesn't look surprised when he's describing these 1970 murders. I actually wrote the blank stare that Jack gives is horrifying because he doesn't seem to be affected by it at all.
That's a good.
The other guy staring at him is kind of like worried about what his reaction's going to be, and then he looks a little scared himself.
Yeah.
Why is he not a little more alarmed by this?
That's a good point. I like that. I like that angle on that. It makes a lot of sense that he's indifferent to it.
Right. He's like, so yeah, maybe he did already know, like you said, he saw in the papers, so it was kind of or he's just like, oh, perfect excuse for myself to go crazy later in the movie then. I don't know.
Did you like how Allman asked, what do the wife and kids think? And he's like, they'll like it.
They'll like it.
And they're both, and then he's like, oh, yep, I see it. I'm a misogynist also. I rule my household. That's fine. What I do is what they do.
Correct.
Wendy's a ghost story and a horror film addict anyways.
Yeah.
How's my Jack doing? Not very good.
It's pretty good.
But now we get to Tony and Danny. Tony, do you think Dad got the job? He already did. He's going to phone your mother. Tony, why don't you want to go to the hotel? Tell me, please. Instead, Tony shows Danny the bloody elevator, and Danny has a full-on episode, seizure, whatever it is that The Shining, I don't know, whatever you want to call that from The Shining that he has happened to him that is yet unexplained to the audience.
Right. And I wrote that Danny is a great child actor.
Yeah, he really is. I think so. I'm thinking of E.T. So the dude that was in E.T., he apparently had a really, really good audition with Steven Spielberg, where he was like crying and doing all his lines and stuff, like really awesome. And Spielberg was like, "All right, kid, enough. You got the part."
Sure.
So
sure.
That was E.T., not this movie.
I did also write creepy as.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And yes, there's a few bleeps in this episode because we said it was rated R.
It is rated R.
I figure a few bleeps in this episode.
Yep, there will be. Did you know that Danny came up with the whole finger and the voice and everything? Like
really?
The actor. It was his idea.
That's crazy. I saw in the behind the scenes that they interviewed like 100 kids for this role.
Oh, crazy. I didn't know
picked
that.
him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it was a good pick.
Yeah, it was definitely
a really good pick. And, you know, that was the fact that Danny is the one that came up with the voice and the finger deal is kind of an oddity in Kubrick films because he was such a perfectionist, such a control freak. He wouldn't let people do something that they wanted to do because it's his movie.
Right.
It's his movie. So
yeah, that's crazy.
It is pretty cool, you know. But after a short evaluation, there's nothing physically wrong with the doctor. Or with Danny, the doctor explains that it's probably auto-hypnosis. Whatever that means.
Yeah.
He hypnotized himself into a seizure, I guess, is what she's trying to get at. And I don't know if that's a legit thing that you could claim for a child anymore, but it was 1980.
Probably not.
So we actually learn about the incident with Danny and his father at this time. But Jack, like you said, he's been on the wagon for 5 months. So that nurse or doctor, I would assume, she looked like horrified at the story.
Oh, yeah.
Just horrified.
Definitely.
It wasn't like oh, yeah, I can see how that happened. It was like, oh, you're still with him? What are you doing?
Exactly.
Like, I can't believe you're still with him.
And the way she describes it, how couldn't you think that? I mean...
Exactly.
You know, I mean, he was out 3 hours later than normal, so you can expect that he would be angry.
Yeah.
And, you know, the papers are all over the floor, you know, so I get it. It happens at hard times.
It's the kind of thing you do to a kid every day, you know?
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, come on.
It sounds like a terrified woman trying to
Yeah.
salvage her relationship.
So what is it called? Is it called? I'm sure there's a better name for it now, but battered woman syndrome. Like I feel like I've heard that. But there's probably a way more politically correct term for it now instead of that.
That's the 1980 term for that.
Yeah, probably. But this brings us to the closing. The fam is on the road to the Overlook Hotel. We get the cannibals conversation. It's a great way to pass the time talking about cannibals on your way up to the Overlook Hotel.
Yeah, it's okay. He saw it on the TV.
Yeah, Danny already knows all about that. He saw it on the TV. Man, but the family finally gets to the Overlook Hotel. Jack is in the waiting room. Do you know what he was reading? Do you know when he's sitting there waiting for Ullman and I can't remember the other guy's name to come up and get him when they get there with all their luggage and all that stuff. He's sitting there. They had breakfast or they had lunch and everything. Do you know what he's sitting there reading? He is reading a porn mag.
What?
Yes, it's a Playgirl magazine. And in that particular issue, there's an article about incest.
Alrighty then.
Yes, and it was an actual issue of Playgirl.
And isn't Playgirl the show's guys in it?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Stanley,
yes.
So
you sneaky devil, you.
I don't think I go into it too much, so I think this is probably a good time to probably talk about it. There's a fan theory that Jack is actually sexually abusing Danny, and that this is evidence of the fact that he's sexually abusing Danny.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know. Take it for what you want.
Yeah.
You can't. The only reason I knew that was from a fact from 10 Things You Didn't Know About The Shining. And so it's like, oh, that's interesting. Playgirl, huh? All right.
And I said this already, but that Jack, when they're driving, seems annoyed already with Wendy and Danny.
Yep.
Does that make you think at all that the murders are premeditated in any way? Like he had a desire maybe to do it and needed some sort of excuse to go crazy or something?
It could be, or he was thinking of like if he does go crazy and kill his family, and this is a nice secluded place to do it at.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't know.
I can do it and have 4 months of peace still or something. I don't know. Like,
I was going to touch on it a little bit later in the podcast, but when Danny has those red rum when Danny envisions red rum and stuff, has those quick flash visions, he's like seeing Jack's actual intentions when he's having those conversations.
Right.
So it is, I would say,
right.
The idea of killing his family is there in his brain, and it is a premeditated thing.
Yeah, and when we were hanging out last week, we were talking about, I was saying how confusing the blood coming out of the elevator, which is the theatrical trailer, we also found out.
Yeah.
But now after rewatching a bunch of times, other than the first time you see that in the movie, every time Danny sees that is when Jack is incredibly angry.
Yes.
He's either fighting with fighting with Wendy.
Yes, Wendy.
Not Shelley.
Shelley Duvall,
but yeah, fighting with Wendy or something where he's about to go off the deep end. And I didn't figure that out till rewatching it a bunch of times.
Right. Knowing that red rum is murder, I mean, it's pretty easy to know that.
Right.
When he has those, and Danny has those flashes, I think, like I said, you're seeing Jack wants to murder Wendy in that moment.
Right.
That's what he wants to do in that moment, but he's able to grab it down and push it down, and kind of keep it away at least a little bit.
Right.
So I think that's where that comes from. But we get to take a step back here quick, and time for a quick look at the place to get everything started right away. So first stop, the Colorado Lounge. That's Jack's workspace. We get the game room with Danny. First instance of the twins. Not too terrifying because there's lots of people in the hotel still, lots of commotion, lots of stuff going on. Danny would have no reason to think that they're anything but a couple of girls that are still at the hotel.
Right.
And they're not bloody. They seem to be fairly real. They don't seem to be doing anything crazy. They don't talk. So at this point, we just probably think that they're just a couple of girls that are running around.
Yeah.
We get to see the staff wing. We get to see the apartment. It's very homey.
Yeah, very
it's,
homey.
It's have you ever been in a, what do they call, a boxcar apartment like that in a big city, where you come in the entryway, into the kitchen, into the living room, like it's all one big tube. Like you go from the kitchen to the living room to the bedroom to the next bedroom potentially, and maybe a bathroom is in between there. Those are the first time I saw an apartment like that was in New York, and those boxcar style, I think that's what they're called, style apartments. I couldn't imagine living in one because let's say you live in the back apartment and this bathroom is before the second apartment or the second bedroom. So you get home late, your friend's already asleep, you need to shower, then walk through their bedroom to get to your bedroom. I mean, no, thank you. Yeah, and probably for like $3,000 a month if you're in New York.
Exactly.
But then we get to see the epic hedge maze, 13 feet high and about as old as the hotel itself. I wouldn't want to go in there unless I had an hour to find my way out. When was the Overlook built? Construction started in 1907 and was completed in 1909. The site is supposed to be located on an Indian burial ground. That's not a good start.
Definitely not a good start.
Yeah, and then he says that they even had to repel a couple of the Indians. So they not only built this on a sacred place for these people, they murdered them while they were constructing the building.
Don't mind them.
That's some bad karma, some bad juju. The snowcat gets introduced for foreshadowing's sake. And then we get to see the gold room. I always wanted to call it the gold ballroom, but they just call it the gold room.
Yeah.
You know all this stuff is sets, right?
Oh, I did not know
It's all sets. Even the exterior up close is a set.
Wow.
Yeah, the like far shots, I guess, are like of the actual hotel and its location, which I can't remember what it's called or where it's at.
Yeah.
Which would be good information for this podcast. But that's okay.
I also thought it was weird that he asked them both, do you both know how to drive a car?
Right.
And then, okay, well, all right, that should be easy enough then because the snowcat is like that. And then I also wanted to say, she says pink and gold are her favorite colors. I think it looks really horrible.
It does. It very speaks of the time. Pink and gold.
Definitely. That does not look good together at all.
Those are two colors that clash.
Yes.
The gold room is definitely a pivotal location. We find out there's no booze, and we meet Dick Halloran, the head cook. Dick Halloran. Danny's brought back to the group, and now we are following Wendy, Danny, and Dick. We get to see that big-ass kitchen. It's big, but it still ain't nothing but a kitchen.
Yeah.
All right. The walk-in freezer. Did you notice that they enter in one location and exit in a different location?
I did not.
So when they go into that freezer, you see them walk in. The camera quickly switches from an exterior shot, seeing them go into the freezer, to an interior shot in the freezer with them standing in the entrance of the freezer.
Yeah.
And when it flips at that point, the background has changed, and they're actually exiting out of a different freezer.
Oh, I did not notice that.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So the freezer that they actually went into, if you pay attention to that scene when they come out, because they come walking down the hallway, the freezer in our orientation would be that they came out of would be on the left. But the freezer that they went into was the first freezer on the right next to the office.
Oh, okay.
So that's an on-purpose thing. You know, That's not a continuity mistake by Stanley Kubrick.
Sure.
You wouldn't make that mistake. You know, he wouldn't make that mistake.
Right.
So I thought that was super interesting. It's just a very odd and surreal moment in the movie that unless you're really paying attention, there's no reason for you to notice.
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to notice whatsoever. But in that, Halloran actually calls Danny Doc 3 times, right?
Yeah, twice right away. And then he says it again to like play it off and act like, oh, he looks like a doc.
Yeah, I thought you must have said it or something like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's The Shining.
Yeah.
And we get to see the storeroom, and we get that Shining conversation with Danny. How'd you like some ice cream, Doc? Right?
Yeah.
Danny and Dick Halloran conversation about The Shining is next. And this is a very pivotal moment in the movie.
Definitely.
You know, it really lays it out for us, lets us know what The Shining is, lets us know what's kind of going on in the hotel, lets us know exactly what's going on in the hotel, I guess.
Before we dive deeper into that, I wrote product placement. Did you notice any of the product placement in the room that they were just in? I want to hear if you remember any.
Oh, sure. Oreo,
for sure.
Milla wafer.
Yep.
Tang.
Yep.
Let's see what else is in there. Man, I can see the boxes and stuff. I think those are the big ones that I can really remember.
The 4 I wrote that are like super visible is the Kool-Aid and the Tang.
Oh, the
Kool-Aid.
The Tang
next to each other.
Yep.
But man, do I miss Tang commercials when I was a kid. Those were awesome. And then Frosted Flakes. and Heinz ketchup.
Yes, the ketchup.
Butt ton of ketchup in there.
Yes. I forgot about the Frosted Flakes, but I distinctly remember that now. So this conversation is really important to the movie. And we're just going to start it off here with what Dick Halloran has to say. Do you know how I knew your name was Doc? Dick and his grandma both had The Shining, so that shows that it's hereditary, right? Well, at least you can assume it's hereditary. Dick thought that he and his grandma were the only ones that had this, and Danny probably did also, right?
Yeah.
But Dick says, others can shine too. Some don't know they can do it, or others don't believe it. Can Jack shine?
Yes, he can, but he doesn't believe it.
So that's the category he falls in.
Right. I wrote that down specifically because we were kind of talking about realizing that he can shine, but he suppresses it or doesn't want to believe it. And then when we rewatched that and I hear Dick say that, okay, that is literally what Jack falls into. He doesn't want to believe it.
I think it's mostly he doesn't want to believe it because he doesn't understand what's happening when it does happen. But I think it's also some of he doesn't know that he can do it.
Right.
So he doesn't believe it. He thinks it's like a complete exterior thing. It's not coming from him.
Was his drinking suppressing his ability to shine?
I would think that may be one of the reasons why he was drinking, was to suppress those visions, auditory hallucinations, feelings. Who knows what he was having. In which case,
then he doesn't know he's using that to not believe it, or to forget about it.
Right, exactly. No, exactly. I think that's a very realistic reason for his drinking and his obvious extreme drinking that he was doing.
Right.
Danny does not want to talk about it. He's scared by it mostly.
I'm not supposed to.
I'm not supposed to, right? Who said you ain't supposed to? Tony. Of course Tony did. So Tony and Danny, it's like a split personality thing, right?
Right.
So like Danny is the one that can shine, or Danny is the one that doesn't shine, and Tony is the one that does shine.
Yes.
So Danny almost falls into some of the don't believe it category himself, right?
True. Yes.
It's made him split his personality, basically. So he doesn't necessarily understand the mechanisms of what make it happen, or how he can control it or trigger it.
Exactly.
Or whatever, like Dick does.
He says he kind of just blacks out and then doesn't really remember anything.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why Danny doesn't want to talk about it is because Tony shows him horrific things.
Yeah, exactly.
Horrific, scary things for how old is he? 8-year-old?
Is he that old?
Yeah, maybe not. 5-year-old?
I was thinking 5, but I'm not sure. Maybe
I don't recall them ever saying a specific age.
That's true.
So so since he's not at school in the wintertime, I could say 5. I think 5 is a good. Because I did think that. I'm like, what is he doing for school? But that makes sense. He's 5. He's not in school yet.
Yeah.
But Halloran, he keeps pressing Danny and asking if his parents know what Tony's telling Danny things to do. But no, Tony told him not to tell his parents that any of this stuff is happening. Halloran wants to know if Tony has told Danny anything about the Overlook Hotel. Danny's reluctant to tell Halloran anything, and instead changes the subject and asks Dick, Mr. Halloran, are you scared of this place?
I ain't scared of nothing.
I think he's petrified of the place.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just absolutely petrified of the place.
100%. And that's why he's pressing him, because if he's seen any glimpse of some of the crap that's going on here, he knows how scared he is. Right?
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. So Halloran says that some places shine like some people do. That things that happen in a hotel can leave traces behind. That the hotel is old and a lot of shit has gone down. Right. So a lot of weird psychic energy is probably hanging around, if you believe that sort of thing.
Yes.
But then Danny asks him, what about room 237? What about room 237?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're scared of room 237. There ain't nothing in room 237. Stay out. You understand?
Yeah.
Stay out. He was definitely, as soon as Danny mentioned room 237, he was like, this is potentially terrible.
Yeah.
This is not going to be good. So there's a couple of cool facts about this scene. It's possible that it holds the world record for the most takes of a single close-up. Apparently, the close-up of Scatman Carruthers talking to Danny took 148 takes.
What?
Yes.
Holy crap.
That was corroborated by Garrett Brown on the Blu-ray commentary.
Holy cow.
And then even the shot of Halloran and Danny together, that took 88 takes.
like of them talking, getting through the dialogue.
The scene over.
Oh my gosh.
Over and over.
Well, I don't know if that makes me appreciate it more or less, but I wrote that this is the most real talk in the entire movie.
The whole movie.
This is like the scene that really gets you going to somewhat understand what the hell's going on in this movie.
It's the bedrock that lets the story form off of it.
Yeah, and I just think, Dick is a really good actor, and I already said Danny is, and just the way he can kind of sense how scared he is, yeah, that's crazy. So it took a lot of damn takes to get this.
A lot of takes, that is for sure. Next, after this scene, like you said, this is a great scene, and it really set the tone but gave us all the information we need for the rest of the movie.
Right.
The rest of the movie could potentially be silent, and we should be able to figure out what's happening.
Exactly.
So that's pretty dang cool. But flash to a month later, Wendy with breakfast, Danny on his big wheel.
Yeah.
That iconic big wheel. You want to hear some cool stuff about that big wheel?
I do.
Okay, so Steadicam was used for that shot.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So that was Kubrick's first use of Steadicam.
Yep.
And he absolutely loved the Steadicam. Steadicam was introduced in 1975.
Okay.
So this is like 5-year-old technology. And this movie was probably filmed in 1978, 1979.
True.
So it was 3-year-old technology.
Yeah.
So this is like brand new stuff. Hollywood had fallen in love with it, like I said, and so did Kubrick. For Danny's big wheel ride, the Steadicam system was mounted upside down and was 2 to 3 inches off the floor.
Yeah.
So that's pretty dang neat. And a specially designed wheelchair for the camera operator was used to move him around the hallway.
That's so cool.
And that super duper iconic alternating sound of him going from carpet to hardwood.
Didn't they have no idea it was going to work out like that?
No, Kubrick was completely surprised by it in the films that they watched that day from the cuts.
Yeah.
Completely
That's super cool.
And that is arguably one of the most iconic things in the movie.
Oh, for sure. Every time I see that, I think Shining, and I think, man, I wish I was a kid in this big-ass hotel.
I bet you if you just played a recording of the...
Yeah. On the radio. What movie is this?
Oh, The Shining, duh.
Yeah, The Shining.
I think it's really cool that it was a completely happy accident.
Yeah, 100%.
That stuff is fun, and the best... This movie has a couple of instances like that where it was just completely ad-libbed, complete accident. I mean, Danny doing the voice... The sound with the big wheel, and then of course Jack's iconic line was completely improvised. So
yeah,
that was not in the script. Thank you, Jack Nicholson. But Wendy finally makes it to the apartment with breakfast, and we get lots of uses of mirrors in this movie, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of the really obvious times when you see Jack's reflection in the mirror. You almost think that it is him because the mirror, the camera's right up on that. You almost think that that's the space where Jack is. But in actuality, it's his reflection.
Yeah.
And I think that shows to you that maybe reflections or showing who you really are is a big part of what this hotel is about. Brings out who your inner person is, if it's good or if it's bad or if it's psychotic and crazy.
Right.
So between that and the lake at the beginning, the mirror in that bedroom again later in the movie, mirrors are a very important part of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But Jack asks Wendy, what time is it? It's 11:30. 11:30? I want to sleep until 11:30 some morning.
Seriously.
But Wendy and Jack, they have that quick conversation while Jack eats breakfast. It's only been a month, but the uneasiness is obvious.
And what the hell? It's been a month and she asks him to go outside for a walk, and he's like, no, that ain't happening. I got to get some writing done. Well, what the hell you doing sleeping till 11:30, you bastard? I just made you bacon and eggs, and you can't give me a 10-minute walk around the hotel? God, what a jackass.
Oh, man. In that conversation, too, Jack talks about his deja vu.
Yep.
And he's really, serious about it. You can tell in his face he's serious about it. And when Wendy kind of just blank stares him back, he's like, you can tell that he tries to play it off as... So that points back to he's denying his ability to shine.
Right.
He's like, oh, it was just a joke. It was deja vu.
Yeah. And he's so interested in it.
Yeah. Right.
So.
I've been here time and time before. I knew what exactly was coming around every corner.
And then he gives you the whoo.
Yeah, right. So he's just playing it off as a joke.
Yeah.
Next, we see Jack's typewriter in the Colorado lounge. It's blank, and Jack is throwing a racquetball against the wall. Jack's got some writer's block.
Yeah, and for whatever reason, I don't know if that's supposed to foreshadow scariness, but when it goes from that to the pounding before you can tell that he's throwing a ball. It just makes me think of the axe going through the door later. It's like, whoa.
That's some really good foreshadowing. He's even making similar motions that you would make if you're throwing an axe through a door, if you're chopping down a door.
Yep.
That's some good foreshadowing, Trav. I like that a lot. We get to see Wendy and Danny in the hedge maze, and Wendy and Danny are wandering the maze, and Jack is wandering the halls of the hotel. Jack approaches the hedge maze model. Get that pretty cool, amazing hedge maze shot. Maze. Overhead hedge maze shot. There it is.
There it is.
Deserve a little drink of water after that one. You get that really cool seamless transition, right?
Yeah.
Just zooming in.
Yeah,
zooming
it is
in,
really
zooming
cool.
in, zooming in. That is the only special effects shot in the movie.
Yeah.
That's the only one. Do you know how it was done?
I swear I did watch this.
So, just for a little scope on the situation, in 2022, this shot would be done with a computer or a drone.
Yeah.
It'd just be completely rendered digitally, or you'd get a drone to go over a hedge maze and do that. But that's no such luck in the 70s.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? Have a helicopter hover over this thing? You know,
Yeah.
that just wouldn't work. You know, it just wouldn't work at all. You'd see the wind wash from the helicopter, all types of stuff. So it's actually really, really hard to tell what they're doing because it is that seamless. It's like a really, really cool shot. So in a direct quote from cinemablend.com, the crew simply made a movable reproduction of the middle section of the maze and brought it next to a tall apartment complex. Hanging off the edge of the roof, the crew got the shot required, and then the material was spliced/superimposed with a shot of the model of the maze photographed in scale. So it's just splice and film together.
Yeah.
That's pretty dang cool, right?
Yeah.
It looks so good. Like, that rivals any other piece of technology that you'd see in a movie today.
For sure.
I feel like even if you did do that shot with CGI today, it wouldn't look as good.
I don't think so either.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again on this podcast. I love practical effects.
Yes.
It's the time, the foresight, the skill, everything about that stuff.
Right.
Absolutely love it. But then we get to see Wendy preparing for dinner with the TV on, and we get the first hint that there's a snowstorm coming.
Yep.
The biggest snowstorm ever, I guess. Danny riding in the halls again. Of course, he's tempted by room 237, but it's locked for now. Thank goodness.
Yes.
What did Tony show Danny that made him so interested in this room? We get that quick flash of the twins, but is that enough?
I don't get it either.
Like,
I mean,
just the fact that it's a psychic point draws his shiningness to want to go to it.
Right.
Because if you are having a vision of the creepy twins that you saw the first day you were at this hotel, and you're like, wait a second, they weren't actually here. I'm having visions of these people now. I may want to stay away from room 237.
Yeah.
So that's like my only explanation, is that it's like almost like a magnet drawing him to it, like the psychic energy.
Basically, like, I'm 5 years old and I called Dick out for being scared of this room. What in the hell could make me want to go open this?
I don't know, because
to him that's got to just be like looking like candy.
It must.
It's glowing or something.
And he obviously can't resist the room because he keeps riding his big wheel by it.
Right.
And he could probably avoid it. It's the second floor.
Yep.
Ride it around on the first floor.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be able to, But Danny returns to his big wheel after, that flash of the twins. Jack's typing away again in the Colorado lounge. He looks haggard.
Yeah, he does.
He looks haggard. Wendy interrupts him. Hi, hon. How's it going? And Jack hides what he was typing. Do you think he was already typing the phrase?
I'm very curious if he was,
Right.
but if he wasn't, he sure as hell is after she leaves this.
Oh, yes. Wendy tries to make conversation with Jack, but Jack is very on edge. I just want to finish my work. You're distracting me. You understand? With a lot of choice F words in there.
Yeah.
Which, cursing in this movie is really used effectively.
Oh, yeah.
It's not thrown away. It's when Jack is like having a psychotic moment is when the cursing happens. So it makes a lot of sense with the movie. But Wendy just replies, yeah.
Poor Wendy. I mean, seriously.
Right. Jack wants to be left alone and literally tells Wendy to f*** off.
Yeah. Before he gets that, she's like, okay, he said to me about 3-4 times. All right, I'll just come back later with a couple sandwiches and maybe you'll let me read something then. Get the f*** out of here. She was not getting it, but I think he made his point very clear by the end of that conversation.
Yes.
I would never want to go in there again.
And Kubrick's point of also showing us that if you didn't already think so, you are now officially looking at a madman.
Oh, yeah.
He is off the deep end.
Right.
He has reached that tipping point. Whether this conversation was it or not, it could have been something, culmination of events, but he is over that edge, in my opinion.
Yes.
Thursday. The snowstorm has hit, and Wendy and Danny are out playing in the snow. That looked like a lot of fun, right?
It did.
You know, it's all fake, right?
Yes.
It is all fake.
Yeah.
No real snow. That's all in a sound studio.
Yeah.
It's crazy, right? Jack is inside doing the Kubrick stare. Have you ever heard about the Kubrick stare?
I've never heard of it, but this is something I wrote in my notes.
Yeah.
How terrifying that look was.
Exactly. That's kind of a thing that Kubrick does in his movies. So,
Okay.
like, go look it up. If you're crazy in a Kubrick film, you do the stare.
I think I can already picture the stare in Clockwork Orange.
For
even
sure.
though I've never seen that, I know
when
that
he's sitting in
stare
the
from-
milk lounge. It's like at the very beginning of the movie, he's
Yeah.
already doing the stare because Alex and his droogs were straight nuts.
Yeah, but holy cow, that is. There's no point. Just like when Jack Nicholson's the Joker, and you kind of corrected me and said he's amazing from the beginning, even before he's the Joker. It's not really questionable in this movie either. But at this point, I'm thanking myself that Kubrick was like, I don't care who else you guys want, I'm picking Jack for this role because damn, that stare is horrifying.
It is, and it's like the combination of his eyebrows and the way his facial features. Like, he's got a very unique face, Jack Nicholson does.
Yes.
And he's not like, I wouldn't say traditionally a handsome man,
No.
but he's just a very unique and it's like the very different type of handsome.
Yes.
Like, you're just so unique in looking and acting and sounding and everything. you
Yep.
know? It's the perfect. I know, because we don't have any reference for anybody ever to be able to make this movie with Stanley Kubrick and all the other set pieces, but I just can't imagine. I can't see any other actor of the time playing like John Voight. That movie would have been garbage. It would have been garbage.
Martin Sheen, is that the other one?
Yeah, I could maybe see a Martin Sheen do it, but no, Jack
Yeah.
Nicholson all the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Saturday. The snow is piling up. More typing. The phones are dead.
Yep.
And the radio stays on for all time now. No more turning the radio off.
Yes.
We get Danny on his big wheel again. That big wheel keeps on getting Danny into trouble.
Yep.
We see the twins in the staff wing. So where they were murdered, I'm assuming, is in that hallway. That's the
Yes.
exact murder spot. Come play with us, Danny. Sort of sounded like that Charlie. Charlie the Unicorn. Do you remember that at
Yeah.
all? All right, that's what it kind of sounded like. It's a pretty gruesome scene, but remember what Mr. Halloran said. It's just like pictures in a book.
Yeah,
They can't hurt you until they do. Monday. Wendy and Danny are watching TV. A TV that isn't plugged in.
What?
Yeah, so that's kind of weird, right?
It is weird.
Like we've said before, Kubrick doesn't do that stuff on accident.
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
It's not like, I like it. It's aesthetically, it's much more pleasing to have no power cord. He's got a reason for not having power cord there.
I wish I knew the reason.
We'll dive into it a little bit later.
All right.
Danny wants his fire engine, but Jack is sleeping, so Wendy is super reluctant to let Danny go up there because Jack is a powder keg waiting to go off, and Wendy is deathly frightened of him already.
Yes. So
Right?
how about you step up, being a good mother,
Go do it yourself.
and go do it yourself, or tell him you don't need that damn fire truck.
Yeah,
Because
well-
there's no way I would have just lived what I lived with Jack the day before as I'm trying to bring him some sandwiches. And then I'm going to let Danny, without me holding his hand, go up to get his fire truck. Go with or something. And then you can apologize and take the heat from Jack and get Danny out of there. But no, just sends him off.
It is a little funny, though. She does kind of like try to tell him, no, I don't want you to go up there.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'll tiptoe. And she's like, all right, whatever.
Oh, okay.
Boy. Jack is awake, though. That's a scary moment, right?
Yep.
That's that camera. That's that quick pan, like almost as fast as Danny turns his head over there. It's that quick pan, like you're seeing what Danny's seeing almost.
Yep.
He's super paranoid, and he's being very weird.
Yes, he is.
That conversation that Jack calls Danny over to have is very intense.
Yes.
And it looks like Danny's waiting to get punched in the face.
Oh, 100%.
It's just what he's waiting for.
Yeah, so that can definitely play into the abuse idea.
Yeah, and the whole,
Which, I mean, if he's... So I forget if he was 5 or if I'm just thinking, you're right, he's 8, and this incident happened 3 years ago, which would have made him 5, where he dislocated his shoulder or whatever from Jack pulling him. But either way, he is 5 at the oldest when that happens. Of course he's terrified of having to talk alone with Jack,
scarred for life after 100%. An incident like that. Jack says a couple of key things in this conversation, and one of them is especially key. I never want us to leave.
Yeah.
That's a red flag there, Danny.
Yeah, Danny didn't want to go in the first place, so now you're saying you never want to leave?
He also tells Danny that I would never hurt you, and that unfortunately is usually the last thing you hear from somebody before they hurt you.
Yeah. You know that, right?
I would never hurt you.
I wish I could say I did, Dad, but you did hurt me once. So, you mean again? Or...
Yeah. Yeah, so that scene is super intense. It's there's very little sound, I don't think, in that film, in that scene at all. Like, I just remember being very quiet and being super intense. Yes, Dad. No, Dad. Yes, Dad. Like, oh, boy.
Yeah.
I feel for the kid. Good actor.
Definitely.
Feel for the kid. Wednesday. That snowstorm is still a-cooking out there. Danny's playing in the halls of the hotel again, right next to room 237 again.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Why not?
Yeah. That ball rolls up. Mom?
Yeah.
Danny approaches and then goes into room 237.
Mom, are you in 237? Because Dick said not to go in there.
It's interesting. I noticed where Danny was playing on a different watch through. I missed it maybe the first or second time. When he stands up and you see the shot from behind looking down the hallway towards room 237, and 237 would be on the left-hand side of the hallway, or the right-hand side of the hallway.
Right hand, yep.
You see a double door with exit written above it.
Oh, yeah.
So he could have easily just gotten out of there.
Oh, yeah.
But instead, he decides to go to the room. I feel like that's an intentional, showing that Danny is drawn to this room and he can't deny the impulse to go there.
Right. And maybe, Dick knew that. Dick knew this is kind of like radiating craziness, and you're going to want to go towards it. So just ignore it. It doesn't exist. Yeah. Don't go to room 237 because you can't fight it. Maybe he can barely fight it.
It could be.
So he stays away, and especially a 5-year-old or 8-year-old curious kid.
Yeah. I think 5. I think you're right with 5. I really think you're right with 5. It really doesn't get a whole lot creepier than that scene when you get that shot from Danny's height, his point of view.
Yeah.
And you're just going around that corner. You can't see anything in that mirror when you're walking around. I'm literally getting chills about it right now just talking about it because that's so frightening. He's in that hotel by himself, basically. His parents could be hundreds of yards away.
Yeah.
And he's there by himself. You get that feeling when you're in your basement by yourself sometimes, where you're kind of like, oh, is there something behind me? But you know
100%.
You're by yourself.
Yeah.
That was a frightening scene.
Which, to backtrack, is really weird how, I don't know if this was just normal in 1980, but they don't give a where Danny goes without them. In the beginning, they're in the gold and pink gold ballroom, and she's like, hi, Danny. I found him out wandering around by himself, and they're not like, Danny, don't do that, or kid.
Right.
I just don't get it. They're just like, well, whatever.
Yeah,
He's
I know.
5.
It was a really different time. It's some people still practice the free range parenting stuff.
Yeah.
I don't feel like you can be a true free range parent anymore.
No.
We let our daughter move about the neighborhood pretty freely.
Yeah.
But other than that, if I find out she was crossing the road out there, I'd be like, what are you doing? You know?
Or with all those other, I mean, not that they should assume anybody in that hotel is weird right away, I guess, but still.
Right. Who rolled the ball at Danny?
Certainly wasn't the girl in the bathtub, so I don't get it.
Is it potentially, is it Jack? Is it Jack?
It potentially is Jack, because we don't know where Jack is right now.
We don't know where Jack is right now. We find out very quickly where he is, but
yeah, and Jack is so quick to tell Wendy she's the crazy one, basically,
Right.
for believing anything that Danny says, that, he's got nothing but time on his hands. He definitely
Exactly.
can be setting something up.
yeah, he could
I
be.
didn't really think of that, but now that you say that, it's making me think maybe it was Jack.
I mean, later on in the movie, it almost feels like he's working on behalf of the hotel. Is the hotel already controlling him to lure Danny into room
Which is
237?
possible. And maybe he's blacking out like Danny does and doesn't necessarily remember it.
If you're going to play off the thing where it's The Shining is based on hereditary means or hereditary reasons, it would make sense that if that's a symptom that Danny has where he blacks out while he's shining, it would logic would say that maybe the same thing happens to Jack.
Yeah.
And it's just the way he deals with it, it's just a little bit of a different way. So, that's a really good point. You could also say this is the first instance of the ghosts, the pictures, demonstrating that they can physically move objects.
True. Yeah, which is kind of what I thought originally watching it.
And with the events that happen later in the movie,
It makes more sense.
That makes more sense
Yeah.
than it being Jack. But you could make a case for it having been Jack.
It could be Jack.
We get to see Wendy doing some maintenance, and she hears Jack screaming. So naturally, Wendy goes to see what's happening, even though he told her to f*** off earlier.
Right.
Jack is face down on the table screaming. He was dreaming about killing the family. Cut you up into little pieces. I must be losing my mind.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of thought that yesterday when I offered you a couple sandwiches and you told me to go f*** off. But yes, I agree, Jack. You are losing your mind.
To step back really quickly to that scene where he did say that, where she interrupted Jack. If you look in the back of that scene, there's a chair that disappears and reappears with the different shots.
Really?
Yes, so that's another one of those weird happenstance things that is an on-purpose thing.
Right.
Like, that was meant for you to see. So I don't know. Who knows the reasoning behind that? I certainly don't. But now Danny's coming in to break up what's going on in there because it was just weird.
Yeah.
It takes a while for Wendy to notice, but when she does notice that Danny's hurt, she immediately blames Jack. There's no
100%.
hesitation.
Yeah.
How could you do this?
Right.
As soon as she notices.
Yeah, and like we said, it could have been Jack, but he also seems like maybe he did just black out and he was dreaming. I mean, dreaming in quotes, maybe that this happened, but maybe he was hurting Danny.
Jack does little to nothing to defend himself in that instance.
Right.
He just looks,
Yeah.
No, I didn't do it.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, he genuinely seems like he has no idea how he could have done it, but that doesn't mean he didn't do it.
Right. It doesn't mean he didn't do it at all. And he didn't defend himself. That's the biggest weird thing for me on that one. But Jack's now pretty PO'd, so he's kicking over all that stuff and heading over to the gold room.
Yep.
This is Jack's first major psychotic episode.
Yes.
And it's a pretty pivotal point for Jack and the way he's going to interact with the hotel for the rest of the movie. I'd give my damn soul for a glass of beer.
Yep.
Hi, Lloyd.
Hey, Lloyd.
You set him up and I'll knock him back, Lloyd. Jack does know it's a delusion, right? At this point?
I believe so.
It's because he knows the whiskey has no flavor. You can see it on his face, right? When he takes that swig, he looks at it, and it's just a look of disappointment.
Yeah.
The look of somebody that was a raging alcoholic, has been on the wagon for 5 months, is finally going to get his first drink.
And then he's like, this sucks.
Nothing. It probably tasted like nothing, because at that point, he probably figured out that it was a complete delusion. It's just the delusion isn't strong enough yet. It's that first step. Jack does confess to hurting Danny in this scene also.
Yes.
So we do get to see that it was true, and he does little to nothing also to disguise the fact that it was probably on purpose.
Right.
He says, could have happened to anyone, a momentary loss of muscular coordination.
Yeah.
Just those practice lines that he told 100 doctors, 100 police officers after the incident happened. But Wendy shows up with her bat. Her trusty old bat after that.
Her trusty old bat.
There's someone she screams it, but there's someone in the hotel with us. She tried to strangle Danny. It's a crazy woman in the bathtub.
Yeah.
Now, frightening. That's got to be, so she didn't actually see it. It's just what Danny said.
Right.
How frightening would that be for you as a person where you're you've been here for nearly 2 months, month and a half now, and you're isolated, you're by yourself, and then all of a sudden your son's telling you there's somebody in a room that strangled me. Like, that is straight out of a horror flick.
Yeah, you were scared enough thinking it was Jack, and now you think it's some mystery woman
random,
in the bathroom.
Yeah. Flash to Halloran watching TV. Halloran gets called by Danny, right?
Right.
Yeah, he's
seemingly.
Yes, he is trying to communicate with Dick Halloran right now, trying to get him to do something to help him out, because Danny, at least Tony, understands the dire situation that they're in.
Right.
He understands that Jack wants to murder all of them.
Yeah. And there's nothing I can do about it.
No.
So, Dick, if you want to come back over here, that'd be great.
Right. And he's literally showing Dick Halloran what is going on in the hotel at that moment, right?
Yeah.
The craziness that is ensuing, whether it's, the 30 minutes leading up and maybe 30 minutes into the future, because like Dick Halloran said, they can see the past, sometimes the future. So, it's a grouping of time, I guess. Now we get to go to room 237 because Jack's got to check it out, see what's going on, be that good dad that he is.
Yeah, after calling her crazy, basically, for believing Danny in the first place.
Jack heads in, and he's confronted by a naked lady. It's sexy time.
Yeah, hell yeah. Perfect. You hurt my boy? No problem.
I'll bang you. What do you want? It's a ruse, though. Whatever this being is just trying to lure Jack in, because it's actually a really gross, naked old lady. She's dead.
Yeah.
Yucky.
Very gross.
Yucky,
and very
yucky,
horrifying. Yucky. I don't want it. That's the one scene I could fast forward through that scene.
Yes.
I don't like it.
I remember the first time I saw that, I was like physically repulsed.
Oh, yeah.
Physically repulsed by it. This is one instance, though, where like the practical effects, the makeup on the old woman, it doesn't hold up very well. You can see that it's like prosthetic stuff on her body.
Right.
So it's a little bit less without that fuzzy VHS grain. It's a little bit more scary when you could leave your imagination to it. It's a very suspenseful scene. And it's a very odd scene. You just don't know quite what's going to happen, and all the things that you think are going to happen start to happen.
Yeah.
And then the switch, and it's disturbing, it's dirty, and then that laugh at the end, right?
Yeah.
That laugh at the end.
Her laugh is horrifying.
It'll stick with you, that's for sure. Dick, at this point, is trying to get in contact with the Torrances, and it's not going very well, because obviously the phones are dead, right? So
right.
It's not going very well right now. But then we get to see Jack meeting up with Wendy, and he lies to her. There's nothing in room 237 besides the dead naked lady.
Yeah, I was gonna have sex with her, but she turned out to be disgusting. Sorry about that, Wendy.
But Wendy asks, what about the bruises on Danny's neck? Jack says he did it to himself.
Yeah.
Wendy isn't buying it along with the rest
Wendy's
of us.
not buying that.
But we see that Danny is listening to his parents psychically. He can see what Jack's plans really are with the flashes of red rum. In this moment, Jack wants to murder Wendy.
Yes.
He wants to kill her right then and there. But Wendy wants to leave the mountain. So, but Jack isn't going to let that happen. It's the first time that she tries to convince him. And I don't know why she's so dead set on bringing him with.
Yeah.
She's like, and if he doesn't want to go, I'm just going to have to do it on my own. No, you should have done it on your own hours ago.
Yes, yes.
Hours ago. Boy. Halloran finally gets in contact with the Forestry Service, and they're going to try to contact the Torrances via radio. But we get to see that New Year's ball now, full-blown psychotic break with reality at this point. We got a whole ballroom full of ghosts.
Yep.
Jack is back at the bar, and Lloyd and Jack are Jack is back at the bar. That's kind of a hard sequence of words.
Jack is back at the bar.
Jack is back at the bar with Lloyd, and Jack is eating and drinking at this point.
Yeah.
So, and he's not noticing that it's fake.
Yes.
So he is
batshit.
Yeah, he is batshit crazy at this point. Bourbon on the rocks, and it's free. He kind of puts up a little fight about wanting to know who's paying for his drinks and stuff, and then Lloyd says, "Oh, you'll find out."
Yeah.
You're probably not going to want to find out in so many words, but you'll find out eventually.
Yeah.
But he's like, all right, I'll drink up. It's free booze. Who cares, right?
Right.
Jack, at this point, he must want to get up and like schmooze with the rest of the people because why else would he get up from the bar, right?
Exactly.
Except for to run into Grady, because he runs into Grady, the former caretaker. The drinks are spilled everywhere and off to the bathroom to get cleaned up. Why won't Grady admit that he is the former caretaker?
I really don't understand that.
Yeah, it's kind of odd, especially since he does admit it moments later,
right,
unprompted.
5 minutes.
Right. Even after Jack calls him out I recognize you. You were the caretaker. He's like, I hate to inform you, I was not the caretaker. I actually wrote that line down. Let me see. He says, I'm sorry to differ with you, sir, but you are the caretaker. You've always been the caretaker. I should know. I've always been here.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I don't get it. At first, it seems like Grady could possibly be afraid of Jack, even though we know that's impossible. But then within 5 minutes, like you said, he flips the script, and it's like he uses what he did to motivate Jack to do the same thing.
That's exactly what he does.
I corrected.
Exactly. Grady does spill the beans before that, though, about the fact that Danny's trying to bring Halloran to the Overlook.
Yes.
And then there's a few uncomfortable N-words.
Yes, very uncomfortable.
Does not hold up. Jack does ask how, and he said, this is where the shining is revealed to Jack, that something different's happening with Danny than what he thinks is happening.
Yeah.
He says your son has a great talent, and he's attempting to use that talent against your will.
Right.
So is that Grady saying that Jack should be able to influence Danny in the way he uses the shining? Because if Jack can shine too, I don't know. Because he says it's just an odd phrasing to say using it against your will. Like, do you have control over it then?
Yeah.
It's just kind of an odd phrasing. And like we've said before, Kubrick had a reason for wording it that way.
Yeah.
And like you said, time for Jack to do some correcting.
Yeah.
The famous red rum scene, right? We see Wendy pacing and basically planning her escape.
Yep.
Which, we said she should have done a while ago, but she's at least trying to do something.
Yeah.
But she hears Danny screaming red rum. But Danny isn't there. It's just Tony. Danny's gone, Mrs. Torrance.
Yeah.
Danny's gone. And finally that SOS, not really an SOS, but that communication from the Forestry Service is finally coming through. KDK1 calling KDK12. KDK1 calling KDK. Do you read me? KDK12. That's harder to say than I expected it to be. Nope, because Jack just took the transistors out of. I'm assuming vacuum tubes, transistors. That was my best guess.
Yeah, he
out of
just
the radio.
started pulling out till it quit working, basically.
Exactly. Halloran finds out that there has been no contact with the Overlook because Jack disabled the radio. 8 a.m. Halloran is on a flight to Colorado, and then he's landing in Colorado. It's a great little sequence. Love that part of the movie, to see him take off and then land within, 30 seconds of the two scenes. It's completely necessary. Dick calls in a few favors to get himself a snowcat so he can drive up to the Overlook because he knows there's the big storm. That was the whole impetus behind him. One of the reasons behind him wanting to get in contact with the Overlook, besides Danny calling him.
Yeah.
But with Dick on the way, we find Wendy and Danny watching cartoons. The Roadrunner show. I remember watching that in reruns.
Roadrunner.
Yeah.
I don't remember that intro, though, somehow.
I feel like I do remember it, but it could be one of those false memories, like where you hear something or have seen something, or just because of your past experiences, like your brain's like, yeah, you experienced that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
When really you only ever heard it in The Shining.
Exactly. Wendy does get up the courage to go talk to Jack and tell him they're going to leave, with or without him. She was still at this point trying to get Jack to come with. Don't get it.
Yeah,
whatever.
Don't get it.
And now the famous all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. With a bat in hand, Wendy enters the Colorado Lounge only to discover hundreds of typewritten pages. All work and no play make Jack a dull boy. Guess who wrote all those pages? Kubrick's secretary, Margaret Warrington. 500 pages typewritten.
Of doing it in different styles, different indents, different mess ups, and all this stuff. Yeah, different variations of the phrases, even for 4 different languages. Oh my gosh.
In French, German, Italian, and Spanish, 500 pages each. So there's 1,000, there's 2,000, 3,000 pages.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Holy crap.
That's insane in the brain.
And this writing makes me think that's what I would be doing in Jack's classroom as he's my teacher. All work and no play makes Trav a dull boy.
I like that a lot. So, and do you want to know what the phrase? So they changed the phrases slightly for the different languages so that they would make sense.
Oh, sure.
Because somebody in Germany wouldn't understand. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. They wouldn't understand that. I mean, that's like an American phrase. So in Germany, it was don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today.
Okay.
All right. And in Italian, it was the early bird gets the worm.
Sure.
That seems less applicable to what the.
Doesn't seem to get the point
It
across
doesn't get the
that
point.
He is actually
right
trying to get across.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the right point. So
like those make it seem like there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
His makes that light is long gone.
Exactly. Jack does walk in on Wendy, thumbing through these pages. How do you like it?
You said you wanted to read some. Where's my sandwiches?
What are you doing down here? I just wanted to talk to you, says Wendy. Okay, let's talk. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I got this bat.
I can't remember. You can't remember? Maybe it was about Danny. And once again, Danny is listening, and he can see that his father's true intentions are murder.
Oh, yeah.
He's another instance of Jack wanting to kill Wendy and going to try this time, actually. Wendy wants to leave because she's worried for Danny's health, but Jack isn't having it one bit. He has responsibilities to his employer. That's more important than my family.
Yeah. Did you ever think?
He goes on a pretty epic rant. That's a pretty iconic set of lines that you get to.
And, I mean, I know they would make it work if somehow it got screwed up, but I watched that thinking, how many takes did that take for him to get through that? Because that she's just slowly backing up one step at a time, and it seems like he does it flawlessly, but I'm sure there's no way he pulled that off in one shot.
It was another scene that took a ton of takes.
I'm sure.
And the number that is coming to mind, I don't have it down, I just paged forward here real quick. The number that comes to mind was 127.
Yeah, I mean, it's believable. If it took that many shots for Dick and Danny's conversation, because this scene is... It's powerful.
It's very powerful. At this point, Wendy just wants to go back to the room because she's confused, right?
Yeah.
What other emotion could you be feeling at that point besides confusion?
Yeah.
The person that you supposedly love, you married and had a child with, is now wanting to kill you.
Yeah.
Literally, Jack says, I don't think you going back to the room and trying to sort things out is going to do you any good. He says, besides, I don't want to hurt you. I just want to bash your f***ing head in.
Yeah.
Right? That's, wow. That's, I would feel like I was going to die if I was in Wendy's position.
Honey? Darling? Light of my life? Man, he is so good in that scene. And it's before that, but when she says that she wants to get Danny to get some help, and he says when, and she says, as soon as possible. And he does that, as soon as possible. I love that.
That was really good. That was really good. Wendy does stick to her guns, though.
Yeah.
Like, this is a moment of strength for Wendy. Really
100%.
Standing up for herself and being like, this is fight or flight, and I gotta run.
do you think she was, like, smacking Stanley in her head? Like, you son of a bitch.
I'm sure.
No, Jack there down the steps.
Knowing Kubrick, that was probably what he wanted to go for. He wanted, Jack and Kubrick, during the pictures of them in this film, they have a lot of similar look to them.
Yeah.
I could see that being a very intentional thing on Kubrick's part to try to get the two people in her mind to blend to really get her to hate both of them.
Yeah,
100%.
So that as soon as he jumps in, Stanley, that being, there's no comfort level. Like, you're still as uncomfortable with him coming in and directing you in some way as you just were in that scene.
Yep.
So, not saying it's right, but it clearly worked.
She does hit Jack in the head very hard.
Very
right?
hard.
The hand and then the head, and then when Jack falls back, he smashes his head on that step.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that stunt guy, I hope that step was padded or something, because that dude is dead.
Yeah.
He hit his head so hard on that step.
So hard.
I couldn't believe, like, that he hit his head, honestly. Like, I just thought of the stunt man. I'm like, I hope that was padded, because that looked painful.
Yeah.
Painful. But it knocks him out cold, and it should. He's even, like, drooling from the face. It sounds like he's going to drown in his own spit, almost,
Yep.
Wendy does drag him into the pantry just as he's waking up.
Yeah, just in
Oh
time
my God. I have serious doubts that her 98-poundness would be able to
drag him that
No
far.
way. I don't think I could drag him that far.
I was thinking the
I
same
don't
thing.
think there's
Like,
any possibility.
I mean, so it could have taken him 3 hours to wake up.
It
for
could
how
have.
long it took her to drag him
It
there.
very
I don't
well
know,
could
but
have.
I thought the same thing. There is no way she drug him all the way through there. But
Jack does wake up and he tries to play the sympathy card, right?
yeah,
I hurt my head real bad.
real bad.
Yeah, right, you jerk.
I think I saw. I think I saw something in the making of that. That was one of the first times they used like the camera underneath
Really?
Jack for that angle and it worked out pretty damn well.
Yeah. Even though isn't like the image has always seemed a little bit uncomfortable to me because it feels like it should be almost oriented the other way.
Yeah,
But maybe that's what he was going for an uncomfortable, uneasy feeling while you're looking at that because it should be. Wendy does tell Jack that she is taking Danny and they're going to get in the snowcat and they're going to go down the Sidewinder or go down Sidewinder.
Yeah.
So is that an actual name? I didn't quite understand that. Like, is that this kind of road that's going? Because, it's kind of winding along the mountain. So would it be considered a Sidewinder?
Right.
Or is that road called the Sidewinder?
Yeah, Sidewinder Road.
I don't know. It could be. I don't know. But with a very maniacal laugh, why don't you go check out the snowcat? You're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere. Oh, man.
But Grady is at the pantry, at the storeroom to bust Jack out.
Yep, wakes him up after he was clearly munching a whole bunch of Oreos and peanut butter.
Yep. And was dead asleep, which is not the best thing for a man with concussion.
Yeah.
He's lucky he woke up. This is this is really the confirmation that the ghosts can physically manipulate objects.
Yes.
Because Grady lets him out after making fun of him for not killing his family yet.
Yeah.
You going to do it? What are you doing?
Yeah, he gives
You're
him
failing.
one more shot, basically.
You're failing. Luckily, Halloran is almost there. Danny writes red rum and lipstick on the door and starts screeching this time with a knife. He does caress that knife before. It's very uneasy, but it's actually not Danny. I should have said Tony does this because it's full on Tony. But time for the famous "Here's Johnny" line. You know? It's exciting to be here finally. Jack is just chopping down doors. I always forget after I watch this movie, it's not the first door that he chops down.
Right.
It's the second door. Yeah, it's the second door because he
Yes.
chops down the exterior door and then he chops down the bathroom door. Wendy at this point is trying to escape out that bathroom door or out that bathroom window, and unfortunately only Danny can fit. And I don't know, maybe a little bit more desperate, grab something to try to break that window and get a bigger. I don't know. I mean, I guess trying to squirm out over broken glass in a window frame probably wouldn't be very good either. But
I guess.
I feel like she could have fit through that
She's
hole.
tiny.
She could go
She
feet
could've-
first or something.
Yeah, something. Have Danny pull you.
Yeah,
something.
But she stays in there and she's got to fight Jack off now. Interestingly enough, 60 doors were destroyed for this axe scene.
Holy crap.
Took 3 days to film this scene.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. Kubrick initially used fake doors, but Jack was able to smash through them too quickly.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Did you know that Jack was trained as a fire marshal in real life? And that's
No, I
why
didn't
he
know
got
that.
all those axe skills.
Nice.
So they had to go to real doors.
That's super cool. I'm way too professional for your fake doors.
I know how to chop down doors. Get some real doors,
Yeah,
please.
the hell.
And like I said before, that "Here's Johnny" line was an improvised line by Jack Nicholson. Like I said, Wendy's going to have to fight her way out. This is so scary when she's in there.
Oh, my God.
Crazy
So scary.
And also so iconic, right?
Yes.
There's nothing else to say about that. I love this scene. Totally awesome. Every time I see it, it's goosebumps, heart racing. Even if I've watched it 3 times in a row, it's still like, oh my God, distressing this scene.
Yeah. Do you ever picture the Super Bowl commercial from a few years ago where they did this with Mountain Dew? Where they cracked down the door?
I don't remember that one.
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember that one.
We should find that and put it in the link to the next episode.
Definitely do that.
Because it's hilarious. Because now every time I see Jack tearing this door down, I think of that damn commercial.
I need to see that. I need to see that for sure. Wendy does slice Jack's hand when he's kind of reaching there. But Jack is easily distracted by Dick Halloran arriving at the hotel.
He just doesn't care anymore.
You would think that he would bust the rest of his way into that bathroom and put an axe in Wendy's head.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm certainly not going to pretend like getting cut with that knife wouldn't have hurt, but I think at the psychotic level he's at this point, there is no way that's stopping him.
No.
That just pissed him off way worse. But yeah, he hears that snowcat, and he's like, I'll get to her later.
No big deal. No big deal. Danny's back inside the hotel at this point, and he's hiding in the worst hiding place possible.
Yep.
It's just, the door didn't even shut. Like,
I know.
And you got plenty of time to go find a new spot.
Yeah, he doesn't even get caught in there, like, really close, but every time he goes in and the door doesn't close, my heart's just kind of drops.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing?
Which they use a shot of Danny in that little cabinet early on in the film. And they use it again later on in the movie. So
okay.
It must be on purpose, like we've said with Stanley Kubrick before. But Dick Halloran gets to enter the Overlook Hotel. And Dick Halloran's dead.
And Dick is dead. Yeah. I don't know. Talking about this right now, I've been thinking, why in the hell didn't he come armed in any way, shape, or form? I'm not saying bring a gun.
Right.
But you were basically called from Danny to come help, and you just slowly walked down this hotel with nothing to defend yourself.
Exactly. Like, even like a stick.
A stick? Seriously.
Like one that you grabbed off the ground before you walked in the door.
Yeah, you work here, so you know where stuff is. You're a cook.
Yeah.
You don't want to go grab a knife or any sort of blunt object.
Maybe The Shining doesn't work this way, but maybe use The Shining to try to locate Jack.
Yeah. 100%. So
you could say that this is maybe an instance where you could say that maybe Jack doesn't shine.
Yeah.
Because you would think that, I guess he did know, there's only one entrance that Halloran could have come in. I suppose if Halloran was smart, he would have come in a different entrance besides the front.
Entrance,
maybe he was snowed in or something like that. But
like if he can't communicate with Jack, why doesn't he try to figure out where Danny is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, Danny's outside. Now I only need to find Wendy.
Right.
But I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of
and you would almost think
loophole-y.
Danny would be his main concern. Like, okay, he's outside. I'm going to get with him, make sure he's in the safe, get him safe and in the snowcat or something.
Yeah.
But he's just like,
yeah, he just doesn't do any of that stuff.
He just
walks
walks in
there
and gets dead.
Dick Halloran enters the hotel. Dick Halloran's dead. Danny felt that one when Halloran took that axe to the chest.
Oh,
I felt that.
I was just going to say, I felt that one.
Should Danny have stayed put?
No. I mean, if he didn't scream, maybe?
Even with the scream. Do you think the scream located him that well?
I think so.
Yeah, probably.
I think in the movie, you don't hear him scream because it plays this music in the background, but as soon as he screams, Jack looks down the hallway. He at least knows he's down there.
Yeah.
So I guess he didn't for sure know where he was hiding, but he's like, oh, I got you, Danny boy.
Yeah, it would have been a simple case of just opening everything while looking for him.
And maybe opening it with an axe. So maybe he should have ran.
Yeah, I think you're right. I was on the other camp on that, thinking that he should probably stayed put, but you lay out a good stream of facts there, and I agree with you. He should have ran.
Yep.
Good play, Danny.
Good job, Danny.
At this point, though, even Wendy is getting in on the creepy stuff. She's starting to have hallucinations and seeing stuff like the bear and the man with the tux.
Yes, that is written down as the last thing in my notes. The weirdest scene of the movie.
They're having an intimate moment.
Yes. I just don't get that.
This is where I really noticed for the first time that high-pitched whine that comes with anytime anybody's shining or anytime something weird happens, or even at this point with Wendy, it's almost like satanic chanting.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think those are clear indicators now on subsequent watch-throughs where I noticed it a lot more.
So it's hereditary, so is this showing in any way that she also can shine, or is this just like Dick says where the hotel is choosing to shine right now and show you what it wants to show you?
I think that the hotel is whipped up into this giant frenzy because of Halloran being murdered now, and Jack exposing or espousing all of this negative psychic energy into the hotel, and it's just like a feedback loop at this point, and the hotel is gaining power from.
I mean, you just took a shiner or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
Like he can shine, and he just died, and it leaves part of you behind.
Yeah.
So that, well, they just went Super Saiyan. I don't know.
Right. Or maybe it's Highlander rules, and Danny absorbed all the power from Halloran dying, or Jack did. Who knows? But we get with Wendy seeing the dude and the bear and the guy in the tux. The dude with his head split open. Great party, right?
Great party.
That's right after she sees Halloran dead on the floor. So that would make sense that he's such a high instance of the shine, that more psychokinetic, weird stuff would start happening around where he died.
I didn't even think of that really until we've been talking it out.
See any hallucinations in that part of the hotel at all. But now there is, because there's all that extra psychic energy, possibly.
Yeah.
We get a bunch of skeletons.
Yeah. That's kind of out of place. Doesn't it seem like that?
I wrote down it seemed hokey.
Yeah.
Right. It
Why
was almost like
just see them alive as ghosts or something.
Right. It was almost like somebody said, this is a horror flick, right?
Yeah.
We need a bunch of skeletons.
Yeah, it is. Some cobwebs, some skeletons. Just throw it in the end somewhere. I don't know. There's enough crazy stuff going on.
We finally get that blood elevator payoff, though, which is really great to actually see. Like, there's that. This has been building up. We've been seeing this scene through the whole movie over and over and over. And if you were at the time going to see this movie, you probably saw the preview over and over and over with the bloody elevator. It's pretty iconic. Imagine being in Wendy's spot and having no psychic, no hallucinations, nothing like that whatsoever, and all of a sudden you're thrown in the deep end and watching people get murdered and all that type of stuff. That seems pretty dang crazy to me.
Yeah.
Danny does escape Jack by running outside and then into the hedge maze. I cannot say that one bit. So now we're in the hedge maze. Yay! This maze was first built at MGM British Studios and then recreated in the England-based Elstree Studios, whatever that means.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's a place. The snow was made from dairy salt and styrofoam snow.
Yeah.
So that sounds awesome. Dense oil smoke. The dense atmosphere was like an oil smoke that was pumped in there for 8 hours a day. The crew used gas masks while they were recording in that sound studio.
Yeah.
Like, that's intense. Like, how bad is... And they were all smoking cigarettes, too, at the time, right?
Yep.
Oh, boy. But you get that epic game of cat and mouse between Danny and Jack. You know, but Danny is smart enough. Probably saw some old West movies or something like that. You know, stepping
or even
back.
a cartoon.
Yeah, or even a cartoon. I mean, that's something that happens in cartoons, and he retraces his footsteps. It confuses and strands Jack in the maze.
Yep.
And that is the end of Jack. Wendy does make it outside, and she and Danny get out of the maze, and they escape down the mountain, we assume.
Right.
We don't actually get to see it. We get a frozen Jack Torrance, and then we find out Jack really has been there the whole time.
Correct.
Right. 4th of July Ball, 1921. What a twist!
I don't get it, but
roll credits.
Roll credits.
It is maybe it's a twist for a twist's sake, you know?
Yeah.
I don't feel like that from coming from Kubrick, but it's the first time you see this movie. If you don't know, it's very iconic and has been played off of lots and lots of times. The whole idea of the closing the movie with the picture and you're in the picture, blah 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 blah. But if you didn't know that, that is quite the twist, and I think it is expertly done at the end of the movie.
Yeah, and it's to get you thinking, isn't it?
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
So you can't, okay, I watched it once, I get it, never going to watch it again. You're like, okay, that didn't make any sense, I need to watch this movie again.
Yes, exactly. That was fun. I love that movie.
It is amazing.
It really is. Do you want to give some final opinions right now, or do you want to talk about some fan theories?
I don't know if I have an opinion other than I freaking love this movie.
Yeah,
so
for
much.
real,
I mean,
right?
it was definitely fun for us to talk about a non-comedy movie.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. But I'd like to hear some of these fan theories, because we kind of talked a little bit about this off the podcast.
We did, but quickly, me too. It's hard to have any opinion besides awesome movie. Really, really well shot. The story was okay. it's a Kubrick film, and they're usually really, really good.
Yeah.
And it's a piece of cinema,
Yep.
It is in the Library of Congress, so it was deemed like influential and essential to like the American people.
Yeah.
So I mean that's pretty good, right?
Hell yeah.
So there are some fan theories about what The Shining actually means, and we'll just touch on them here really quickly. One of them is The Shining is about the genocide of the Native Americans. So, like we said, the hotel is built on an Indian burial ground. There's depictions of Native Americans and Native American art motifs. Jack used the phrase white man's burden, which is a title of a poem by a man named Rudyard Kipling, which valorizes the colonization of natives by white imperialists. So that guy liked the fact that whites were taking over America from Indians, from Native Americans. American Indians, what's the correct nomenclature? Isn't it American Indians now? Native Americans? I don't think anybody would take an offense at Native Americans, so I'll stick with Native Americans. I can see how people can draw like the blood representing all the people that died there and all. I can see that. I don't really like that fan theory very much.
Yeah.
How about that fact that Kubrick is confessing to staging the moon landing?
This just throws me off. I gotta hear about this.
First off, the moon landing wasn't faked. That happened.
It happened, people.
So we're gonna get that out of the way. It wasn't faked. It happened.
It wasn't fake. The Earth is not flat.
Exactly. Some people think that the government hired Stanley Kubrick because of his work on 2001: A Space Odyssey to stage the Apollo 11 moon landing.
Oh my God.
Right. And people point to the flag not waving, the no stars in the sky and stuff like that to it being on a sound studio. But there are plenty of facts out there that explain all of those things that are realistic and are based in science.
Right. We're going to go with science.
Danny is wearing a sweater with a rocket and the words Apollo 11 on it. That's pretty dang obvious.
Yeah.
Same thing with the tang in the pantry. And it could even be boiled down to the fact that Kubrick was aware of this conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And played into it on purpose.
Yeah, just threw another layer in here to get people thinking. And
might have just been f***ing with people.
Yeah, 100%.
I kind of like that explanation of that fan theory that ultimately it was Kubrick playing a joke. Yeah. It's kind of an example of being meta before meta was like a real thing. Right?
Yeah.
I kind of like that a lot. The one that I like the most is the fact that the Overlook is hell. I think that's the most plausible one, and it's the one that I like the most. For one, the hotel layout is constantly shifting. We talked about the entering one freezer and leaving another, even though the shot stayed the same.
Mm-hmm.
The window in Ullman's office, the conversation with Wendy and Jack in the Colorado Lounge where the chair is disappearing and reappearing. Kubrick was a stickler, and he did these things on purpose. Maybe Jack died long ago, and this is his own personal hell. And another final one, Jack is never seen outside the Overlook or the road that leads up to it. There's many other facts about all of these conspiracy theories, fan theories, I should say, not conspiracy theories. So go check them out. The link to these things are in the show notes. Go read about them. There's a whole bunch of other ones. There was like 7 or 8 different theories. I'm like, I'll choose 3.
Yeah. And that one does make the most sense. But like we talked about, Jack is out at least one time with Wendy when they're talking about the hotel with the hotel manager and when it was built and whatnot. So it kind of throws it off a little bit.
Yep.
And I don't get the fact that Danny and Wendy are constantly being brought to suffer with him. Like if it's his hell, why are they suffering independently in different ways?
You could think that maybe they're just figments of his hell.
True.
So in actuality, they don't exist.
I guess that's true.
But, if they were murdered, let's say he murdered them there, maybe they're trapped in the same hell, and they didn't die, but maybe they die going down the mountain.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would trust myself driving down a mountain in a gigantic blizzard snowstorm.
Yeah.
Could have easily died.
Or, like you said, if he already killed them and this is their ghost, then he was trying to kill nothing, hypothetically. He was chasing his own ghosts and demons, and then he died, and they ride off into the, not sunset, but darkness.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, that's another thing, is they do ride off into darkness.
Yes.
So you could, anything beyond the snow adds that, haze like of a draw distance in a video game where you don't know what's past it. Like, is this a contained little universe where there's nothing past it, and when they drive into the darkness, they simply don't exist anymore?
Yeah, and so she drove shotgun, so she rode there with no snow, obviously.
Yep.
I feel like her only hope that makes sense to get out is it hasn't snowed enough to cover the tracks from Dick showing up in his snow.
Yeah, that would be about it.
So that's about all she can do is just follow the tracks in the darkness.
Mm-hmm. So I think it is Jack's personal hell. That's my opinion on that one. Great movie, like we said. Homework assignment time?
Let's assign some homework.
TMNT.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Turtles in a half shell.
Turtle Power. March 30th, 1990, New Line Cinema. $202 million. That's $457 million in 2022. Thank you, usinflationcalculator.com. The budget of the movie was only $13.5 million, so this was considered the highest grossing independent film up to that time, surpassed by The Blair Witch Project in 1999.
Crazy.
That is crazy, isn't it? I didn't realize that it was an independent film for how much production is in it.
Yeah.
That's maybe independent film is loose, like a loosely independent. I don't know. 2 sequels. We'll get to them eventually. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3. No subline with that one. There's a couple of different, so there's the live action people, and then the people that did the voice acting. Like Judith Haug is April O'Neil. I don't know how you say her last name.
Yeah.
There's a few other people, blah, 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 blah. Don't really care about that. James Saito as Oraku Sakai, the Shredder. He leads the network of the Runaways Turned Thieves. And then Toshishiro Obata as Master Tatsu, which was, Shredder's deal, right?
Shredder's second in command.
Yeah, Shredder's. Sam Rockwell's in this movie. That's pretty cool, right?
Yeah, obviously.
I don't remember him being in it at all.
I don't either.
I've looked at Target a couple times trying to find this trilogy on Blu-ray, and it's just not there. I'm gonna have to buy it off of the Amazon or something like that. But of course, the voice cast: Brian Tochi as Leonardo, Josh Pius as Raphael, Corey Feldman as Donatello. Yay, Corey Feldman!
Yay.
Robbie Rist as Michelangelo, Kevin Clash as Splinter. And David McCarran. I'm going to go McCarran. And Michael McConaughey as Master Tetsu. March 30th, 1990. You can find this one on DVD. And where else do you think you can find this one, Trav? I forgot to look that part up.
I actually think all 3 of them are on Netflix.
Hey, that's even better. I don't have to go buy it. Maybe I want to buy it for my collection, but that'd be about it.
Yeah, I do think they're on Netflix. They were recently, at least, so who knows with how much they take things down. But
yeah. Just a reminder about your long-term homework assignment, Kirby Superstar, March 21st, 1996. Probably after this Ninja Turtles episode. We'll probably get that one out to you guys. So
yep.
We'll remind you on Ninja Turtles, and then we'll talk about it again.
Oh, yeah, and another thank you to Timotheus,
oh, yes.
1978,
yes.
for suggesting us doing TMNT.
See, if you email us and you suggest stuff and you create stuff, we're going to use it.
We're going to do it. We want to do the podcast you want to listen to.
Yep, you're going to be on it. So, yep.
And yep.
All right, your turn, Trav. Hit us with that outro.
We're time to get into some emails here. So our first email comes from Fright Night 92. Says, I loved your Halloween Nicktoons episode. Could we expect this to be a Halloween tradition? Also, do you guys plan to ever do other holiday episodes such as Christmas? And Fright Night 92, I think so. Drew and I have talked about doing it again next year with different Nicktoons and maybe, years after incorporating some Cartoon Network shows or something.
Yep.
But what were some of the ones you had looked up? We could do Doug.
And
some other ones.
Hey Arnold. What else? There was a few other ones. Those are the two that are coming to mind because I was like, those would be a couple of really good ones.
I'm sure there's an Real Monsters.
Oh yes, Real Monsters. That was another one.
So we have
Rugrats.
plenty of Nicktoon options.
Yeah, there's plenty of Nicktoon options.
There might even be a couple episodes mixed into the shows we've done already that we could do another one.
You guys really seem to like those Nicktoons episodes, so we're gonna keep making them. That's for sure.
We love Nicktoons. Yep. I want to go watch the B movie Angry Beavers episode again because it's so good. I put, as for Christmas episodes, that is a great idea, Fright Night 92. But we were not planning on doing that this year, but I would expect it probably for December 2023.
Yeah, definitely expect it 2023. We do have some Christmas movies on the docket. That one of them is going to be a double feature, which will be a fun episode to do.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you can probably figure out which one that one's going to be. But no spoilers.
No spoilers. Next email comes from Give Me a Year House. Says, I totally forgot Jack Black was in Cable Guy. Do you guys have a favorite Jack Black movie?
Oh, favorite Jack Black movie. Jack Black movie. Nacho Libre is underrated. I enjoy that movie quite a bit. But I think my favorite Jack Black movie is going to be Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny.
Okay, for sure. My favorite one isn't a quote-unquote Jack Black movie, but he is one of the main characters in it, Orange County.
Oh, I've only seen that movie one time, but he is very good in it.
Oh my God, he's hilarious in that movie. Next email comes from You're in My World Now, Grandma wants to know our favorite Ben Stiller movie.
Tropic Thunder, for me, easily, even though there's some very, very questionable Robert Downey Jr. blackface in it. I'm so uncomfortable. And that movie came out in like 2010.
Yeah.
Very
questionable.
Very funny movie.
That movie is hilarious. And Jack Black is in that movie.
Yeah, he is in that, yes.
And he's hilarious in that movie, too.
As a dope fiend.
Yes. You think you're the only one who doesn't like his jelly beans? For Ben Stiller, I put, as a kid, Heavyweights was my favorite one.
That's a good one.
For sure. Happy Gilmore, again, he's not a main character, but we've mentioned him.
Is he even in the theatrical cut?
Or
he's in the theatrical. He's not in only the unrated version.
No, he's in the theatrical cut. And then I put Envy. Have you ever heard or seen that movie?
No.
So that is actually Ben Stiller and Jack Black are the two main people. It's from 2004, I believe. So unfortunately, we can't do it. But basically, Jack Black invents a spray that makes dog poop vaporize.
I remember that movie.
He gives Ben Stiller the option to go in 50-50 with him, and he doesn't do it. And then Jack Black becomes rich, and Ben Stiller has to deal with it.
I like it.
But that is a really good movie. So if you guys like either of those two, you should watch Envy because it's hilarious. But it will not be homework. Next email comes from Scooby Snacks 88. Says, you guys have mentioned some different pops and snacks that you missed from when you were kids. I loved Dunkaroos and 3D Doritos, both of which have made a comeback. Are there any others you haven't mentioned that you wish would make a comeback?
Have I mentioned Better Cheddars?
You have not.
Better Cheddars, man. You can still get them, but it's in a little box on the top shelf. Better Cheddars. I love them Better Cheddars for sure. Better Cheddars. Better Cheddars. Better Cheddars. Better Cheddars.
Better
Cheddars. Better Cheddars.
I put Checkered Cheetos.
Checkered Cheetos. I don't recall that at all.
So they had the X's and O's. Do you remember this?
Oh, yes.
So X's and O's were good. They're kind of like the Cheeto Paws that are out now.
Yeah.
But these Checkered Cheetos were like the perfect mix between the normal crunchy Cheeto and a Cheeto Puff. So it didn't get stuck in your teeth, but it was different than the normal crunchy Cheeto.
That's great.
So, yes, Frito-Lay, I know you're listening, so that is my suggestion, Checkered Cheetos. Next email here comes from Paperboy79, wants to know, were there any games that you were unstoppable at as a kid, whether it was just your friend group or not?
Unstoppable. Well, I played, I suppose Halo came out, Halo Technical, the first Halo came out in 98, maybe it was 2000.
I'm not sure. Regular Xbox.
It was regular Xbox. I'm going to say it was 99, so I'm going to go with it. But we played that so much, I got really, really good at that. Those multiplayer levels, especially in the first Box Canyon one, you get that shotgun, you're running up along the edge, and you're just mowing people down. I got really good at that one.
Oh, yeah. Nice. So I put Mario Party 2, more specifically a mini game in Mario Party 2, Mecha Marathon, which I have never been beaten. So if anybody wants to challenge me and put some recording times on for your Guinness record of Mecha Marathon, I'd love to see it, but nobody ever beat me in that game. It's literally just pressing the A and B button simultaneously as fast as you can on the 64 controller. I just think I had a lot of training with that between the Dynasty Warriors franchise and just having to press buttons repeatedly. That it's not a fluke. I'm unstoppable. I've had a lot of people throughout the years like, I'm sure I could beat you, or they say they know somebody who's quote unquote faster than me, but I haven't seen it yet. So there it is, Mecha Marathon.
I will say a game that I got really good at was Metal Gear Solid. I would be able to whip through that game super, super quick. And, all the different endings that you could get with it. So there was high replay value, and you would get that stat sheet at the end, and I would do my best to go no kills, under 2 hours, and all this other stuff. So I got pretty dang good at that game, too. The hardest thing about that was the time, trying to get the time down, because you can only go so fast when you're going from screen to screen, especially at the end. About heating up the card and cooling. Yeah, when you're doing that stuff, you can only do it so fast. Yeah. And so, but that would probably be another one that I got really good at.
Yeah, and you can thank Tom Morehouse for that one.
Thanks, Tom.
Finally caving and buying that game for Drew,
Thanks,
so he
Tom.
didn't have to keep renting it. Yep. Last email comes from Sandy Cheeks. Writes in with a movie request. She says, "Hi, you guys should do Silence of the Lambs. Best movie of all time." And simple and to the point, but I think we're going to have to do that eventually because we've mentioned this movie multiple times in regard to Jim Carrey's love for it or Anthony Hopkins or both, and it is a great movie, so it only seems right that we cover it. It's moving up the list.
It's moving up the list. Our list is only through part of 2023, but it's moving up the list.
It's moving up the list. So thank you for that topic suggestion, and that wraps up our emails. If you want to email us, and we hope you do, email us at overduehomeworkpodcast@gmail.com. Topic suggestions, ideas, anything you want me to read, it will get read.
Recipes.
Seriously, I want a recipe now after that. Give us some recipes. Check us out on Twitter at Overdue Homework and Instagram at Overdue Homework Podcast. And as always, don't forget to tune in to the next exciting episode of the Overdue Homework Podcast.